Hi, Elle here at pressure-free.com. It's a beautiful morning. I'm outside on my deck doing a little bowspring yoga. For those of you who don't know what the bowspring is, check out my friend Leela Veronica. I have lots of friends who do the bowspring. It's a pretty amazing movement practice. And she's actually starting a cool movement school called the Riverstone Movement School out in Colorado to help people learn this method. Another plug too for one of my clients, Kyra Wallace has this very cool activewear, so I'm sporting it today. That's because I want to talk about heart health, stress fat. That is day 5 in this little series of things that health-wise stress really messes with. And certainly we equate heart health with stress a lot. So I want to explain it a little bit this morning and then actually share, first I'm going to share about myself personally. So when I started this method in 2010, most of my life I had been either a runner or a walker. I rode for Michigan, I played basketball, ran cross country, I've always done a lot of sports. And when I was in high school, I clearly remember saying to my mom, how come I don't have a waist? I know that sounds funny, but take a look at distance runners, marathoners, triathletes. A lot of them don't really have a waist. Like they're very straight in their torsos. And that was me when I really got into distance running. So I asked my mom, I'm like, how come I don't have a waist? Because she had an amazing waist, like 24-inch waist. Like, what's wrong with me? And she goes, don't worry, honey, that's just how you were built. She didn't want me eating any less because I probably wasn't even eating enough to support all the running I was doing back then. So she didn't want that. She didn't want me to stop eating. But in 2010, when I started using the pressure-free method on myself and started breaking that stress cycle where stress hormones are no longer coursing through my body all day, I lost pounds of stress fat in my upper torso. So I actually have a waist now, and I can't believe I'm going to show you this because I'm almost 60, but my waist, like here, this is where the stress fat was, like down into the waist. And now I actually have a curve here. All right. So like there's no bands of fat there anymore. And I think, okay, that's fat I can see on the outside, but what about the arteries? Like fat is brought from our extremities when we go into fight or flight. And since most of us are not using it, like we're just in our cars and we've just stressed out about something, or we're in our offices, we're at our desks or at school and we're stressing out about something. So what does the fat do? It lodges in our arteries and it lodges in the center of our torso. So that's stress fat. And a lot of people that I've worked with, they lose weight through exercise and diet, but then there's still this stress fat that's really, really hard to get away from, not to mention your heart health. So I remember being a runner, I subscribed to Runner's World back in the 70s, early 80s, and Jim Fixx, who founded that magazine, I believe he died of a heart attack. Like, he's an amazing runner. And I thought, wow, what is happening here? Don't we run to keep our heart healthy? Well, if you're triggering fight or flight, your heart isn't staying healthy. And it creeps up on you over time. So I've worked with people who are like fine for decades, and then all of a sudden their heart markers, they get testing done, and they're like, oh, we need to put you through a stress test, or we need to keep an eye on this. And it's because stress creeps up on you, and the cumulative effects of bringing the fat and glucose to the center of your body really creeps up on you. It's also linked to metabolic syndrome and diabetes, because every time you trigger fight or flight, both floods of hormones dump sugar into the bloodstream. So also, let's get to the stress fat again. Every time you trigger fight or flight, you bring fat here. Your digestion is shut down, so you're going to create more fat cells. Plus, whenever you're in a toxic state, your precursor cells are going to think they need to turn into fat cells to protect you. So you build even more fat. And we got the torso fat, but there's another spot too. It's between your shoulder blades back here. So that spot between your shoulder blades is also a place where a fatty hump grows, and I think it's called like the dowager's hump. It's also known as Cushing's disease. And the second flood of hormones, the glucocorticoids, expand those fat cells and make them larger. That's because if you are in fight or flight, you are under attack, and you might not be able to get to food for a while, you've got two stores of fat. One up here, and I believe that one is built for the brain stems because your brain needs a lot of fat, and one in the center of your body. So I think this is just really, really important for people to know. Once you start breaking that stress cycle, your heart's going to work better. You're not going to build that stress fat so much. That hump in the back is going to be less. It's really incredible how quickly the change goes. And I was probably about, 8 to 10 weeks in. And I remember getting in my car, and when I sat down, like my stomach tucked in instead of rolling out from all that stress fat. It was just really, I can remember just sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, what a change. So people have no idea just how many effects these stress hormones have, and that was my purpose of this week for you, just to give you a taste of some of the things. But there's like so many effects of these stress hormones. So let's recap. Let's see. What do we talk about? We've talked about this week, we've talked about, heart today. We talked about gut health. We've talked about, what else? Gosh, it's escaping me how many things we talked about. Oh, I think we talked about allergies. The list goes on. Basically, any chronic disease, mental or physical, is the result of these stress hormones or made worse by them. So if you have something chronic going on, I used to have so many little chronic things that I just lived with because I thought you just have to live with them. Just how I'm made or what my genetics are. That's not true. That is not true, and I stand so strongly for that. Like if you really want to get out of something that's going on chronically with you, let's have a talk about it. Let's see if breaking the stress cycle could help you with that. So I wish you a great pressure-free day. I'm going to go out for my walk. Bye.